Hello and welcome to Anime Style. I am Gary and Reva, and today I'm going to be continuing my review of the 6th episode of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, covering what I didn't have time to last time. Normally each episode of this series I review an episode of the anime, summarising the plot and talking about my thoughts on it, but as episode 6 has a lot to talk about, I decided to split it into parts 1 and 2. This is part 2 where I'll be talking about Lucoa, and part 1 can be found in the description and at the end of the video, in which I talked about the Riko home visit and Fafnir. So, back to episode 6, Home Visit, and Homes Not Visited.
It's the best!
This comprises the centre third of the episode taking place after they get home from visiting Riko's house, and before they wonder how Fafnir and Takia are getting along. Warning, this episode contains dodgy content. Lucoa is visiting their flat and reveals that she also decided to move to the human world. When asked why, she says that she's been hanging out with them a lot lately, and as travel to and from their world is, in her words, a beast, she decides she'd rather be closer to them. I like this, and Lucoa in general, because she's probably the friendliest of the dragons. Or supernatural creatures, I guess. Lucoa goes on to say that she's staying at someone's house not too far away, just like Tohru is with Red. Remember, that's what I call Kobayashi. And invites them round to visit. Red agrees, and Lucoa says that she can help clear up a misunderstanding. So begins a little flashback that is both fascinating and deeply, deeply disturbing. Lucoa describes how she was on her way home after visiting them, when she sensed someone performing a ritual nearby. This sense also told her it was a child. She waved a finger to create a symbol in the air, and then jumped through it. The view cuts to a tiny purple-haired child wearing a pointy hat, standing in front of a cauldron out of which a naked Lucoa emerges. It's as bizarre as it sounds. As they walk to where Lucoa is staying, Tohru is incredulous that she let a child summon her. Lucoa tells her not to judge and that he comes from a long line of mages. With the inclusion of this, the lore goes mental. No longer is the human world normal and the dragon world weird. Apparently we have mages. Insanely, Red doesn't bat an eye that a child from a line of mages was able to summon Lucoa, instead asking her what the misunderstanding is. Apparently the child is under the impression that Lucoa is a demon, and she hopes that Red can convince him otherwise. When they arrive at the house, Lucoa invites them in, saying that no one is home. I'll get to my issues in a moment. She says that she's crashing in one of the rooms upstairs and offers them something to drink. A line made me laugh where Red says she wants to ask something but thinks it'll sound rude. She asks, "What the hell are you, Lucoa?" To which Lucoa responds, "Yeah, sounds rude." She does go on to state that she isn't a dragon like Tohru, and while it's not exactly accurate, likes the term ex-goddess. Red asks why ex-goddess, and Tohru begins to recount the story she blurted out at the housewarming party in episode 3, before Lucoa stops her. Essentially, she was forced out of being a goddess, but still fulfills the role of spreading civilization far and wide, which takes on a whole new meaning when said over this shot. Combine this with her claim that she's a really good being, and she doesn't feel she deserves to be called a demon. They hear someone get home, and Lucoa uses her powers to show them the child who summoned her. This is Shota, and he sucks. We'll get to my issues very shortly, but I need to warn you once more, this gets dodgy. Tohru comments that he looks a bit twitchy, and Lucoa says he always does when she's there. Red comes straight out and says that Lucoa's body is an agitator of lust, and Lucoa explains what she's done to try and alleviate this. Lucoa, an adult-bodied goddess, has been cuddling and bathing with Shota, a 10-year-old boy. And you thought the worst was behind us this episode. Shota peeks into the room and it's clear he thinks Lucoa is his demonic familiar, attempting to gather allies to overrun his house. Lucoa calls him Shota Baby, and the inclusion of a visual heartbeat sound, this is weird and creepy. Why is this in this? Yeah, the Kana Riko thing is also weird and dodgy, but at least they're both like children. This is an adult and a child. There is no defence for this. Lucoa asks for Shota's forgiveness, while making use of her assets, and says that they can help him understand her better. She explains that she's a dragon who saw his summoning circle and decided to answer his call before a dangerous demon could. Shota remarks that he doesn't have enough magical power to summon a dragon yet, deciding it's a trick. Tohru asks Shota why he'd try to summon a demon, and, despite Tohru having very similar horns to the thing he thinks is a demon, he answers calmly. He says he wanted to be accepted as a full mage immediately. He states that his family are from a different world, and maintain their powers until they return there one day. In a really weird twist, Red basically has a go at him. She says that she feels bad for Lucoa being summoned for no reason, and if she really was a demon, why would she stay and obey him? Shota begins to apologise, but Lucoa insists that she doesn't want to be sent away. Tohru tells her that she can't just stay at someone's house for nothing in return, so Lucoa offers Shota various things like gold, technology, charisma, and magic powers, but he says no to each in turn. With nothing left to offer, she offers him her body. Shota flees the room, shouting that she's a demonic succubus. Walking home, Red describes the whole thing as awesome, apparently perfectly okay with Lucoa throwing her body at a 10-year-old boy. She also mentions that she saw pictures of Shota's father around the house, recognising him as the director of her company. Add that to Riko's sister liking maids, and that's two giant coincidences this episode. That's just lazy.
So pretty.
While Lucoa was explaining to Red that she's an ex-goddess, there was an image in the background of a brightly coloured winged lizard, implying that that's her natural form. But in the show's title sequence, you see something completely different alongside what we know to be Tohru and Kana's dragon forms. The thing that bugs me is that neither the winged lizard or the black snake thing have her horns. Again, Tohru and Kana's human forms have been shown to have the same horns as their dragon forms. So is it possible that neither of those are Lucoa's real form? Of the two, I vastly prefer the black snake from the intro, both because it seems to fit in their world better, but also as Quetzalcoatl, Lucoa's real name, is an Aztec god. The black snake seems more Aztec-y? Add this to her claim of being a feathered serpent, and the winged lizard from the background just doesn't fit at all. It's worth pointing out that a lot of first-time viewers, me included, thought that Shota was female. He's about 10 or 11, but as he has such a high-pitched voice and that shoulder-length hair, it's very easy to think he's female. Also, going back to the mages in the human world thing, and how it shattered the established normality, why does Shota have purple hair? It's not a natural colour, we've seen only natural colours with the humans. If I had to pick one thing to be completely removed from the lore, it'd be Shota and all of the mage stuff. I don't know if it leads somewhere important in the manga, but it serves no real purpose in the anime. All it does is make the supposedly normal world seem as bizarre as the dragon one. This could potentially be resolved with Shota's throwaway line about being from a different world, implying that his ancestor came through from the dragon world. Tohru's previously stated that the humans are a lot more powerful where she's from, so a mage family wouldn't be out of the ordinary. But it doesn't work. Introducing him casually talking about these things after they've been here for at least a few generations, it undermines the juxtaposition of Tohru moving in with Red. It's not that weird now. And that is a killer blow. Like I said, I've not read the manga, so maybe this is all a massive plot point in that. But it only comes up a few times in the entire season, and just those few times is enough to mundanify the dragons. They're not the first to do this. Maybe that doesn't bother other people as much as it does me, but it really does bother me.
Yeah!
There's something of an elephant in the room regarding the character of Shota. The word Shota, spelled without the U, is a Japanese slang term for a cultural version of a more youthful or childlike male appearance, mostly used to describe fictional characters. What the hell does that mean, you ask? Does it make more sense if I tell you it's the male version of Lolita? By extension, Shotacon is the attraction to very young boys, the male version of Lolicon. As Red has previously described Kana as gothic Lolita to Takia, and the show's willingness to use that about her, it probably isn't much of a stretch to think that the character of Shota is named after this, let's call it phenomenon. If that is the case, that's incredibly bloody lazy. Granted, it does seem to be an actual name in Japan, but naming this character Shota is like if they'd named Lucoa fanservice. I try not to judge, but honestly this whole episode just weirds me out. Going back to the multiple times I said I'd talk about my issues with the Lucoa thing, aside from, the paedophilia, how are Shota's parents okay with this? Or alternately, how are they oblivious to this? Lucoa sleeps and bathes with their son. How are they unaware that someone's doing that? Or maybe they're like Red and find it funny. Seriously, this entire plot point is so series-breakingly stupid, on top of being criminally creepy.
Interesting, I'll remember that.
Given how much there was to talk about, I'm sure you can understand why I split this into 2 parts. Episode 6 had a lot in it, with much of it being highly suspect. Again, I apologise if any of the content of this episode disturbed you or made you uncomfortable. Honestly, it disturbed me. I really don't know why they felt the need to add Shota to this, especially as Lucoa was my favourite dragon. Luckily, an upcoming episode cemented a different dragon as my favourite, so I'm immensely looking forward to that. Please leave your thoughts below on this part. Thank you very much for watching. Please consider pledging to my Patreon linked in the description, and I will catch you later.